Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you an update in Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Real-Time Index. I did record this video, by the way, on Monday, July 21st, 2025, actually the very early morning thereof. And so I'm going to walk you through, if you haven't been following the series, I'm going to walk you through a buy signal that occurred November of last year when we closed above this 5-year channel top. This is a weekly chart, the same weekly chart throughout. We closed above it and got a nice pop to the upside. January, we topped out of this year, fell back during the tariff Liberation Day talk. The stock market sold off then as well. Stock market and Bitcoin, as you're well aware, are fairly well correlated. There are more extreme moves in Bitcoin, but in terms of the directional bias, they're very similar. And so we fell back to retest this 5-year channel top. Up to that point, prior to the November buy signal, we were anticipating the possibility, despite the fact that we are at new highs, of bearish rotation into later this year. Obviously didn't happen. We closed above it. And, when we tested this area, one key point to remember is while it looks like we did violate it, certainly on an intra-week basis, we never did close the week back below this structure, which is key. Had we closed back below this 84,818 5-year channel top, we would have expected continued bearish trade. But as it turns out, this was bottom-picking territory. And the target, which has been in play since last November, is the full wave count. The 2021 high minus the 22 low. You flip that on its head, the full wave, A minus B plus A, 122,433. And we tested that last week. The actual high I don't really note here is 123,203. And we backed away slightly. And here we are. So we met the objective, but I also amended the objective to include not just the wave count, but ultimately this year. Sorry, I'm actually going to push into this area. Ultimately, this rising channel top at 135.21. And that, I think, is still in reach. Just structurally, I think the market can continue higher. The wave count is a targeting mechanism. But in terms of inherent strength as a price ceiling, that could be called into question. But what I don't doubt as a strong price ceiling in terms of a very sellable resistance is the channel structure at 135.21 and climbing. So if we close this week above 122,433, 135.21 is likely. This could be within 1 to 2 weeks. With more recent volatility, this could take the better part of 2 months, but probably within several weeks, we would reach the 135.21 formation. This is a 1-year channel structure that can contain buying through the third quarter and possibly the rest of the year.
If you're finding value in this analysis, it's only a glimpse of what we offer. Your real trading edge starts at wickedstocks.com. Each week, premium members receive 2 high-probability stock picks. Each one comes with a complete trade plan, including exact entry, profit target, stop loss, and regular updates so you can manage the trade with confidence. You'll also get daily video analysis in the top traded markets, the SPY, the Triple Q, and NVIDIA, highlighting the key price levels, trends, and trade setups we're focused on. Whether you're day trading or swing trading, these insights help you zero in on the highest quality opportunities with clarity. Try it all free for 5 days. Cancel at any time.
And there is also, and this is the same set of data, I just opened the chart up, there's also this a rising 4-month channel top at 132.15. This is what I would call kind of the slippage factor at this point in time. If we were to close above this area, the low 130s, a close above 132.150, which is not likely this week, but if so, we enter a new significant buy signal that should result in increasingly vertical trade. I mean, if we reach this objective, say over the next 3 to 5 weeks, let's say by August 1st, this is the 1st of April, May, June, July, August, 4, 5, 6 months, 4, 5, 6 months, within 3 to 5 months, we could reach this 175,893. So if you're looking for an opportunity to go long Bitcoin on strength, that would be a settlement above 132, 150. Until then, respect this area for its ability to contain buying on a longer term basis. That is to say, through the rest of the year, perhaps. So if you've been long Bitcoin and your time horizon is, I don't know, 3 to 5 months, let's say, 135.21 is an area you should respect for its ability to contain longer term buying pressures in an area where you may actually exit at least some of your Bitcoin. Now, if you've been an investor in Bitcoin for several years, who knows? But we can fall back from here, back into the 80s again, back into the lower 80s, really. And this is kind of the setup for the downside, which I'll get to in a moment. But we do have this newly formed channel bottom at 81,847, which correlates pretty well with this long-term channel top, in the mid 80s right now. So this is our long-term support. I don't expect to see it unless we have met certain conditions, and I'll get to that in just a second. So let's kind of continue to walk through the charts, and we can show the sequence of buy signals we've had, since April. We closed above this descending channel top. We then closed above this longer term channel top that is now at 94,924. And then we closed above the actual January high of 109,192. Around the same time, we closed, and I think this was the more significant buy signal, as you may recall, but it was around the same time. And in fact, it was the very same week, really. We got up to 109,192, the January high, and we pushed through it. We never closed above it until 2 weeks ago, really, when we pushed through it and just sort of blasted away. And then the following week, we reached our longer-term objective. So on the downside, the 107.87 level, 107.877 level is meaningful support. And that really is the way it shapes up right here. It lines up nicely right now with 109,192. And might we see this area anytime soon? I think that all comes down to whether or not we actually close below the low of the high. So if we fall back this week and settle Friday afternoon and we're trading comfortably below 115.702, the likelihood is that we'll fall back over the next few weeks, 3 to 5 weeks, into this zone of support, which is changing a little bit every week. You can see it when we close below the low of this high, and that was just a few weeks later. It resulted in quite a downdraft, obviously. We actually never did close below the low of this high before taking it out to the upside just a few weeks ago. So closing below 115.702, we have a sell signal into early August. The next few weeks then likely to fall back into this zone of support. 107.877 is dropping weekly, but of greater significance is 104.643. So really what I'm saying here is if we close this week below 115.702, you should make way for this rising channel bottom at 104.643, which will by the first week of August be at 107.44 anyway. The following week, 108.45, and that will then correlate pretty well with these old highs. So that's really what we're saying. Within 2 or 3 weeks, this whole red area lines up anyway with this channel bottom. 104.643 can contain selling at that point in time through August into September, and from here we can round up to new highs. Holding above this area will keep our longer-term objective that I show once again here at 135.20 in reach. So I don't want to confuse you with lots of data, but just know that for now you can buy this zone, and before you know it, over the next few weeks, it correlates well with this newly formed channel bottom. Last thing I think I'm going to say to the downside is if we do close below 104.643 over the next few weeks, and I don't have any idea whether we will or not. We did, by one measure, reach a long-term target, but bullish momentum has not been diminished, and you should continue to allow for 135.21 in your calculations, in my opinion, where we might top out actually through the rest of the year. But if we close below 115.702, I would expect this 104.643 formation and climbing within a few weeks, where we could bottom out through September and round up again to new highs, round up again to the 135.21 rising channel top. Hope that all makes sense. And finally, if we were to really fall apart over the next few weeks and close below this channel bottom, that is a setup for a good, I'm going to say a good high for the year. I don't think it's a significant long-term sell signal, but I think what it implies is over the next 2 to 3 months, which would put us into like October, November-ish, we can anticipate the low 80,000 area. 81,847 becomes a clear-cut objective if we were to close below 104,643. Until then, 104,643 in combination with these old highs at 108 and 109 can absorb selling through September, and from here we can push onward and upward to new highs. The long-term resistance area at 135.21 in reach, where we can top out possibly on an annual basis. And if settled above, signals significant gains through the rest of the year. That is really all I have for this week's Bitcoin update. You have a great week.